Hello, everybody. We are three of us today because a number of us are not well. Um, is that me or you who bleeped? Oh, it's me. Um, I just shut WhatsApp off now. Uh, and then there were two. Well, the leader of this life has just gone off. So let's bring him back up again. Um,
I think I could hear you now.
this is yeah. So today is a bit of a different topic we're discussing. Well, we're not discussing. Joseph is sort of walking us through. This is his domain. So today's live belongs to Joseph. So I would like to introduce
Appreciate
you
that.
to everyone to
That's so
Joseph,
nice of you to allow me to take over, Joel.
and let's get started. Joseph.
That's great. I know. There were some emails going back and forth, and I know Mac had some questions, and we sort of I think it's a big topic we're trying to impart, and this could be a good introduction to it. And I think as we sort of take you along this journey and build Rockstar with everybody, these are some of the things that, with the people around us, we will be able to help with. And so today really is two words: financial literacy. It's some people it's scary. Some people understand it. Um, my experience over the years has been pretty long and interesting in it, in the world of finance. Got my start really early on, 19 years old, Wolf of Wall Street. Worked with some very interesting individuals and started to learn, more about money and really how it worked, and about buying and selling stocks. Really thrown into it really early on, and wind up landing a couple of years later at American Express. Spent over 19 years there. Come to now work with some great advisors throughout the country. I still work with my original mentor from American Express, and through all of these years, um, I've seen people have millions of dollars, lose it, seen people make millions of dollars, and trying to figure out, like, what is it, what is this mindset, if you will, around money. And for me, it's really allowing yourself to make the correct choices about money. And that, I think, if you start to allow yourself to do, and seek out other people for help, so important. So really, financial literacy is the mindset of allowing yourself to make correct choices around money. Now, it opens up, Pandora's box, if you will. I see Mac, shaking his head. Yeah. So, where do you start? Um, it's so many different paths you could go down in the world of finance, but I think it comes back to some very important question. What do you want? What do you want? We have needs that we all need to have met, right? We need to eat, we need to drink fluids and water, we need to have some sort of shelter, some sort of clothing for the weather to protect us. But we also have wants, and that's what's so great about being, an individual. So, when you start to think about that, well, what do you want? What do you want for yourself? What do you want for your family? What do you want for the others, people around you? So I think when we think about financial literacy, just like an athlete, right? They have to work out, they have to make sure they're in shape, game ready. I think with finances, it's the same thing, right? And really starting by asking yourself and figuring out what you want, so important. And spend a lot of time there, in imagination, right? This great world that we have, imagine these things. Think of everything you want. it's all possible. Anything's possible, you know. I'm possible, you know. Impossible is only I'm possible. So really, I think the beginning and the foundation is starting to figure out what you want, you know. And then you sort of know, okay, what do I want to have in my life? You know, what type of people do I want to, where do I want to be? Where do I want to travel? What do I want to do? Where do I want to go? And, you know, think about that. There's nothing better you can do is spend time in thinking about it. But it's all well and good doing all that. Most important thing is starting to write it down, right? You have these goals. You know, Joel, think back like, you know, a couple of years ago, right? I believe, you know, Rockstar started to come to fruition because you wanted it. You started to write things down. You know, you started to ask people for help. You know, so I don't know if, yeah, I don't want to keep going deeper. I don't know if Mac or Joel, you had some questions, but I think it's a good, you know, way to enter into really starting to figure out, you know, what finances is for you.
Yeah, I think Joel, I don't know if you mind if I jump in there, if that's good with you. Um,
Not
but
at all. My mind is just blown.
well, you know, just listening to Joseph, it's clearly a natural subject for you, but at the same time, it's such a big subject because for everybody, their life experience is so different when it comes to, you know, financial literacy. And it's, you know, there's so many questions you can ask, and we can go down different rabbit holes here. But you know, I think one of the big challenges that I see in the world is the fact that financial literacy is, there's a different perception of what it is for so many different people. And you know, one of those things that you spoke about now is, you know, what is it that you want? Like, what's the outcome? And that
Yeah.
is such an important, you know, I guess, position to start with. So, you know, for somebody who, you know, I'm sure there are people watching going financial literacy, and for some of them, this is, you know, okay, I need to be a chartered accountant, I need to be able to read balance sheets, I need to be able to,
Yeah.
all those kind of things. And then for other people, it's just understanding like budget, you know, very, very basic stuff.
Oh yeah. I think those are, you know, everybody's at different levels, you know, where they're at in their life. And you really start to making sort of figuring out what you want, and then going on and starting to make assumptions around, you know, what can be, you know, and calculations of it, right? Math, you could, you know, there's plenty of tools today, Google, you know, financial calculators everywhere. You want to figure out, you know, how much money do I need to have, you know, to do X, Y, Z, what rates of return. This is all very accessible in today's day and age. So those are like the, you know, sort of the what if scenarios, but it all does start with, you know, figuring that out and then creating a plan, right? Creating a plan for yourself. You know, and so now once you have those things written down, well, it's like, okay, how do I now take that and then bring it into action, right? Starting to create a plan short term. What am I going to do over the short term to start to achieve these things? Okay, I want to start saving money. Well, let me figure out what is coming in, what's going out. And then, you know, what's going out? Well, maybe in what's going out, there's some things that shouldn't be going out to expenses or other things that you could, you know, save money on. And then you can start putting some of that money away. Maybe it's for some of those short-term goals. You know, they think, you know, even medium term, long term, you know, start to really focus in on, okay, these things that I want, when is it based on some mathematical calculations that it's achievable? You know, people, you know, if they really sit down and do the homework, even myself, you know, you know, I practice what I preach. You know, I go through I just went through it, my income and expenses, and realized that there's some reoccurring charges on there that I don't need. There may be things that, you know, I used once or twice and now it's still charging. So when you start to think about that, you really, I think what happens is start to really see what can be, and some of those wants now are start to become realistic. Right? You start that mindset of now actually going through and actually doing the work is rewarding. You know, as far as like not knowing, I'm always going to go for asking for help, right? Ask everybody. Taxes, like think about like, taxes is such a broad topic. Like, why would you ever try and either, do it yourself or do these online programs? Why not have an accountant in your life? Why not have someone you can reach out to, that you're aligned with? Even to, now you're saving, right? And you got it. And you're starting to, you got to protect those things too, right? So there's also a good idea to have attorneys in your life, right? For certain circumstances, real estate transactions, business transactions, right? Estate planning. These are people that you want to align with. And, Joel, for example, starting to think about this journey of, doing the US tour, right? So one of the things is, how do you do that legally within the system? Well, we need an attorney. We need someone specializing in immigration that can help with this process, right? So being a part of a group that we are in Rockstar, we make some phone calls and we start saying, who could help us? Who could help us in this situation? And, people might start to think, well, about assets. Let's talk about that for a second, because it's not always just about that physical want or that physical thing. There's a lot of things that we should be doing with our money. So the money is just, remember, it's just that sort of energy or that sort of currency that allows us to put things in motion, right? So if we want to start to attract that money into our life, we have to really start to focus in on and, put plans together. So, Mac, I think it all starts with, as complicated as it sounds, as complicated as and people probably, they can look at this and see financial literacy. Automatically they think, okay, this guy's gonna want to talk about Forex or NFTs or crypto or stocks or bonds. No, it really starts with yourself, right? And sitting down and figuring, these things out, and then ask for help.
Absolutely. Joel, did you want to jump in there? Because I know you were nodding away.
I was always told not by a financial person. Ironically, this was by many of my teachers. They said, well, my first teachers first said it, and then I thought that was stupid. But then others started to say as well. I thought, okay, this may make a lot of sense. If you're not going to invest in yourself, who will invest in you?
There you go. Right. So those are sort of the non-tangible things, right? These sort of things that are not necessarily assets, right? But if you could go out there, right, and you could start to figure out your budget and you want to be a speaker around the world, right? Well, you better start taking a little bit of money and investing in going places to speak, right? So that then you can start to get paid to go and speak places, right? So, so that even though, you're not necessarily creating an income, if you're investing, investment in, let's say a real estate property or stocks or bonds or anything is great, and you're going to make return on that. But you really can't quantify when you take $1 and go spending on investing in yourself, right? Being involved with, organizations that are going to help you prosper and get to where you want to go in life. That's and studying, educate, even Mac, I think you used to say about like there's so many things. Well, hey, you know what, if you're interested in investing and you have started to save money and you want to invest in real estate, well, you should find out who's the best in the game and start learning from them. You should, everybody, if you invest in real estate, you definitely want to know Grant Cardone, right? And what Grant's up to. It's creating cash flow, multiple doors. But you want to start investing in, stocks, things like that, well, you should learn about William O'Neill and the Can Slim theory, and go to investors.com. So all of these things are so accessible to learn, but at the same time, they're all professional, right? And even I know Joel knows that, within my background, I still have these people that are in my life, right? That, you could go out there and you can sit down with them. And I will tell you right now, most advisors that are doing and adding value in their clients' lives are doing this planning work because they want to help you succeed, right? So, you could go out there and you could get the help you need. You could ask for it. So, I think focusing in back so much on figuring out your plan, what you want, and then starting to re-engineer into, okay, who do I need? Who do I need to bring along? I need that accountant in my life. I need an attorney in my life. I need a financial, guru or a financial advisor, or I think I said attorney. I think you guys call them solicitors, right? In my life. So, those people, I think, when you start to, do this thing, it sort of takes away a lot of difficulties and maybe some of those separating emotions of, fear and guilt and greed and all these things that come into play when you don't know where you're going and you don't know what you're doing and you're making mistakes. So really reach out, ask for help, figure out. I think Joel said it well. Like, if you got to invest in yourself. You have to go out there and try to, if you're going to work, you're going to go out there and you're going to earn money. Save for yourself. Either invest in yourself to educate yourself, your health, your body, put away, start to save money. And, I think over time, you'll start to see things change, in your life significantly. When you really start to, focus in on these things.
And Joseph, tell me, you mentioned earlier about the importance of writing your goals down. And it sounds like to a lot of people, it's just obvious. To a lot of people, if you ask them the question about what are your goals, they go, and you can kind of see them, you see the body language, you see them kind of look up, to the side, and you can see they're kind of trying to pull from their mind what these ideas are of what goals look like, but they don't have, they've never physically written them down. And I know the power of writing things down. Can you just explain to people what how much of an impact that makes?
Yeah, I think when you start to think of things, right, and then actually take sort of those ideas and thoughts you have and put it on paper, it starts to become more real, right? And this is not like a beat me up type thing. This is not like I'm writing down 10 goals and I didn't hit half of them and like, I'm woe is me. No, this is a point to set up a list for yourself. You want to call it whatever you want, bucket list, goal list, want list, list everything you can. And then you do, make the plan, put those things away for a little bit, work at it, take action on that plan that you have, that you put together, all these people that you brought into your life, take action on that plan. And then what happens? You have to hold yourself accountable and track the progress. You have to have some type of mechanism in place that's going to track. Well, you know what? If you didn't have a list, how are you going to even know where the hell, know what you were tracking, right? If I want to go snowboarding out in heavenly west, right? I have to really figure out, am I going to be able to have enough money for airfare, enough money for food, and all these different things, right? In the time frame when I want to go, right? So I could actually figure out, okay, you know what? If I had no money, you know what? It'll take me save $100 a month for the next, year and a half, and I'm there, right? You have something to track, you have something to look at, a mechanism, and there's so many different ways to do it. Everybody will figure out what works best for them, right? I'm still a paper and like Excel spreadsheet guy, right? Where some people, could use some of these great programs that are out there, right? That could help you, even just your expenses, right? There's some wonderful ones that are out there, just click into your or link into your bank account, right? and now you can see everything. Break it out, There's two types of really expenses in life. There's discretionary and non-discretionary. Discretionary, essentially things that really you don't need to spend the money on. Non-discretionary things like I have to eat. I got to pay my water bill. I got to pay the rent, mortgage, those types of things. But these non-discretionary things, a lot of people, when they start to do this work and track these things, you start to realize, you know what? I'm going to skip that Starbucks for the next month. Now, you know what? They have another $200 or $150 that they didn't have, right? These are the things that writing it down, or I don't want to say writing. It doesn't have to be writing it down. I know I said writing it down, but it has to be taking that sort of thought out of here, right? Bringing it somewhere for a place where now it's a reciprocal. It's like a tank, right? A safe, if you will, where all this stuff is that you could go back and look and track and say, oh, okay, I did this. Oh, why? Then you could have to go into, why didn't I do that? Right? What happened there? Figure out maybe the mistakes. Maybe, I could have did this differently. So I'll always go back and this comes from, my dear mentor, Blaine Bartlett, and his sort of leadership model of where to spend a lot of time. If you want to spend a lot of time in the bottom of the triangle, if you will, of imagination, right? And thought and mindset, and that connection to the thought of co-creativity and what could happen in life, right? Spend a lot of time there. And then all of the other things at the top, the who's, the what's, that all starts to work itself out. But spending the time and the thought and the imagination, all of that mindset, you have to take that out of your mind and put it somewhere else, right? Have a reciprocal, have a place to file to, track these things with Excel, whatever it may be, whatever, works for you. And, also by reaching out and asking for help, what you start to find is, hey, do you use QuickBooks? Do you use this program? Do you use that program? Oh, you're in this business. Do you know that this is good for your business? So going out there and, getting that accountant, getting that attorney in your life, getting someone with financial acumen in your life, those things start to pop up, and then, you wind up, getting further along, better than you were the day before, right?
Yes, exactly.
I hope I know I sometimes talk fast, and I cover a lot of ground. I hope people, if anybody has questions and everything. I know this is a personal topic, and some things people are probably like, oh, I wish I could ask you about this or that. Listen,
I've got too many for this live.
Yeah. Well, this will be something that will evolve over time with the group. And I think we can even start to go into like break-off sessions if we want, where questions come in and, we could field them individually if people want to be public with it or not, because I know it is sometimes a personal topic. So Joel's sort of learned, I think, a lot over the past year about finances, even himself. So you have a great group of people here already at Rockstar, and we'll start to bring, I think, as we move along, some more people to the table that could even go deeper. Maybe we could even bring in the future some companies, like maybe some of these tracking expense company, income and expense companies that you have these apps. Get someone from there. There's other institutions where we have an account. We can even bring our accountant on, maybe Joel, talk about something, but we could go deep on individual topics. But for everybody, that does want to go above and beyond, go a little bit more personal in their situation, feel free to reach out to us, send a message to DM us at Rockstar, and we'll figure out where, based on where you are and your geographic location and time and everything, how we could, help out.
Exactly. Mac, do you want to take over before my voice?
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to ask a question that I think is really important to know the differentiation about, and I have no doubt you'll be able to give us some clarity on this, because there's clearly a difference between a goal and a dream. So can you elaborate on that so that people kind of know
Yeah,
where to start with that?
Yeah, I think a goal is something you can measure and achieve, right? So it has to be something measurable that you can achieve. This dream, I think it's the bigger picture. It's a multitude of goals, right? For me, the dream is every day getting a little bit better, whatever part of my life that may be, right? And I have little goals along the way, right? So if I hit X, Y, and Z, right, that achieves that goal within the overall dream, right? Or vision, right? I think another great word for dream is vision, having a vision, right? And this is sort of, something that I think everybody should have and work on. It leans more into the business planning end of things and starting to figure that out for yourself. But yeah, really a goal is sort of something that you're looking to achieve that's measurable, right? So, man, I want to, let's say here, I'm trying to think of a short-term goal. I want to see Joel in America, right? So
Joel
that's
wants
not
to
going
see Joel in America as well.
yeah. So
So therefore it's a mutual common goal, which is good, which helps.
It is, right? It is, right? And we'll work together, all of us, to make that happen, I think. So that's something we're going to measure and we're going to achieve that. But the overall dream and vision is Rockstar, right? So getting Joel here is just one of the things that continues to build the dream, So, and it could be the littlest of things, It could be, I want to get up every morning and just drink a cup of water in the morning. That's, that's a goal, and I start to figure out and count how many days I did it. The overall dream is to be healthy and live to 117 years old.
I was just thinking 103, but
and going 117. They have it's like the 120 mark is like sort of, I think, the big mark. So I'm happy with 117. I'm grateful for that. So
absolutely. Tell me, I had another question, which is slightly escaping me there for a second. But you were talking about the setting the goals and having those little things that you work towards. What where would you suggest people start, as an example? So there's so many people that are either employed or they work for themselves, but it makes no difference. At the end of the day, you still need a starting point for looking at your financial planning. And a lot of people stick their heads in the sand because they kind of I hope it's just going to kind of work out. And I read this book, Hope is Not a Strategy. For yourself, like what's the starting point?
Well, we have the goal and the dream, right? Then it's really digging in and doing the work, right? Digging in and actually trying to analyze your situation. And that's going to get us to a plan, right? So really starting to, know where you're at. Take a good financial snapshot, of your overall picture, everything. Start to look at everything you have going on. That's the first point, like to be aware, right? Spend time in that awareness. Once you're aware of it, well, then, you could start to take little action steps. And it's not overnight. These things are the things that add up to the dream and the vision, right? These goals, these little things that we're doing along the way add up to it. That's why, I say having some place where it is, or, you're holding this information, even if it's on a board, a vision board or something, right? These things are there. You can measure them. You can go back and say, did I take these actions that I wanted to achieve these goals? And maybe you did, maybe you just have to try again. Maybe you have to change something up, maybe you have to ask for more help.
So that's a really good point, because there are a couple of things that, stand out for me there. The one is work, because it's not going to happen on its own. So the other thing is asking for help. And I know a lot of people say if you don't like doing something, just outsource it. But how important is it for us as business owners or entrepreneurs or executives within organizations to ensure we know our financial literacy in a way that we know what's going on, rather than, because you hear of it all the time, somebody outsources something and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I've outsourced, but I didn't realize I was losing, millions or all those things.
You're talking to credibility, right? And it's very hard to find 100% credibility. So how do you beat that, right? You beat that with educating yourself, researching, doing a little bit of your own homework, getting people on your team, asking for help. If you have a financial guy and they're giving you some sort of advice, it doesn't hurt to call your accountant. Chances are that accountant has heard it before, right? If you're with a financial person, they want to execute some business deal, right? Well, it might make sense to review with an attorney. You may know all the answers. You may be able to do it yourself. You still want to have a professional. You still want to have someone there to help you.
Those are exactly the answers I was wanting to hear. Firstly, for reassurance, but secondly, also just I've seen so many people make the simplest of mistakes, or the fear of not starting at all because they don't know where to start. And your simple tip of asking for help, we don't realize how close we are to people that can literally make those things happen so quickly. So, what is your advice on that?
Yeah, like people may say, I don't even know, like what he's talking about, goals and dreams, right? Well, you know what? If you don't, you need help with it, you need a sheet, you need some worksheets, you're in the right place. Like Joel and I have access to tons of stuff to help people with this, right? Like a simple income and expense worksheet, like knowing that, your income minus your expenses is what you're either left over with or not at the end of the month. Figuring that out on a monthly basis is probably a good idea, right? So, and don't be, fearful or afraid to ask for help. Money it's just like being happy or sad. It doesn't know that, right? It just is, it's out there, right? It doesn't know whether you're happy or sad. So be happy about it. Like, be excited to ask questions about your money. Be excited to go out there and, get the right documents for your business. All of these things. I'll tell you, I've seen people, the richest of people and the poorest of people, right? And it doesn't make you happy or sad, right? But I know one thing. The people that sort of go out there, ask for help, and have people around them, and they have money, they're generally really happy. And then the ones that are going through difficult times, right? And, they have people around them. They're usually happy too because they have people happy. When you are not in a good situation with money and you don't have anybody helping you, you're right, Mac. You want to freaking stick your head in the sand. Like, the way to get away from that is to not separate yourself. Go out there, ask for help. Just, and I mean, whatever it is, in finance, there's definitely someone that's been there before, right?
So, you bring such a really important thing up when it comes to the financial side of things, because you often hear people in business say, I will be happy when. So I'll be happy when I get my first million, or I will be happy when I have my own office with my name on it, or whatever the happy when. And what you said there was the consistency of happiness, because you're embracing the process, you're loving the learning and the finding out, gaining the knowledge, and therefore happiness is just it's a process you go through, not a destination. Just imagine if you work your whole life but you miss your goal by $1. It's like, does that mean you don't ever achieve happiness? Or can you spend your life being happy And if you miss it by $1 going, hey, well, I loved the process and I spent a happy life.
I think you nailed it right there, right? Like, I think you want to enjoy everything along the way, right? So why are you going to let anything with finances affect your emotional well-being, right? Being sad, feeling separated, feeling angry, jealousy, greed, all of these things are things that are not healthy for the body, right? So why don't we just change that and talk about it and make it, have someone to talk about it. I mean, I can understand some people have different personalities, don't like to. Okay, but you know what? Do it in a closed room with someone else. But do it. Go out there. Write down. Put that pen to paper. Start writing those goals down, those dreams. Put a plan together. And then, of course, you're gonna have to track it. You're gonna have to go over it and make sure that I'm looking at all the reasons why this didn't happen or did happen, and how could I improve?
Absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
there's so many things on the subject. I know some of the things we were looking at earlier is talking about the plan and then looking at good debt versus bad debt. Can you go into that for a few seconds, because a lot of people are like,
I will.
I'm just dropping backstage. My dog is needing me.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to jump off in like 2 minutes. I realized we've already been gone for like 45 minutes, but this is great. And I
perfect.
love that
We'll wrap up
question,
into
Yeah, so good and bad debt, right? Like, there's so many different ways to do things out there. And we've always been told that debt's a bad thing. Don't have debt, don't have debt. Well, I'm here to tell you that is so far from wrong, right? There are things that you could do in your life that would be good for you. The key is, right, knowing what's good and bad, right? So when you're going to, let's say, buy something, and I talked earlier about like discretionary expenses, things you don't necessarily need, right? You don't need to have a Ferrari, right? You don't need to have a $2,000 a month lease payment. You don't need to go to, the islands and $10,000 vacations all the time, right? Those are things that are sort of discretionary, right? So one of the things you don't want to do is buy things on debt or credit cards or loans for discretionary things, right? You don't want to do that. What's wind up happening is you now wind up that trip that was $10,000 now winds up costing you $12,000 because you have 20% interest rate. That's a bad debt. That's a horrible debt. You don't want to do that, right? I do understand that sometimes people get into places where, they got to pay a bill that's going to keep the lights on, and you do have to use a card or credit card. Well, if that's the case, make sure it's a low interest rate credit card. Make sure that you're playing the game. Don't let banks take advantage of you. You don't have to be paying 29, 30% in credit card rates. Look at your statements. There are banks out there that, 0% introductory rates, 3%, rates. It's out there. All in all, you just want to stick with things that are going to be enhance your sort of life, right? You don't want to be paying interest on money that is for things that are essentially, discretionary.
absolutely. It's so important just to understand that when you look at those things you're talking about now, how important financial literacy is in making those decisions.
So important. And we talk about bad debt, anything with high interest rates you want to stay away from, right? I think the good types of debt are things that are going to help you achieve asset growth, right? Or enhance the value of your overall life, right? So think about things like a mortgage, right? Most people, look at these homes and, the average price of homes is very high, especially in the United States. If you buy a $750 million home, not many people have that saved up that they can go out there and buy that home. But you know what? If you go out there and get a mortgage, which is a debt, right? You could get mortgage rates that are low interest rates, have a home, save maybe 20% of what that home is. So if it's $1 million home, if you saved, 200 grand, you could probably obtain that $1 million home right? With a low interest rate. Now you have, you know, you own a home, you're paying down a note on that home at a low interest rate, and over time, real estate's a great investment and it rises in price. So, you know, those are good types of debt that are out there. And, you know, you could get, you know, I mean, there's so many different ways you could start to talk about good debt. But really, we want to focus on getting people to get away from bad types of debt. High interest rate, I like to say, getting taken advantage of by the bank, because there's a lot of people out there don't realize they use it more as an expense mechanism, right? An easy thing. Oh, I'm going to just charge everything on my Amex, end of the month, I'm going to pay it, right? Or I'm going to charge everything on this card, end of the month, I'm going to pay it. Or some people don't wind up paying at the end of the month, and then before you know it, it starts snowball. So the key is, you know, you don't want to have those high interest rates on there. You know, you want to look at your cards you're using, any type of debt, and you know, I always would say it doesn't hurt to call a company too you're dealing with, you know, and ask them, especially if you're in good standing with most of these companies, you know. So if you have you know, high interest rate credit cards, high interest rate student loans, things like that, you should be talking with your lenders and seeing if they get you better rates. If not, you should be going somewhere else, right?
And this is, yeah, that's the thing is, you know, if you're already there, it doesn't hurt having the conversation.
No.
But most people don't realize they can ask. So, but I'm also
Yeah.
conscious, Joseph, of your time and
Thank you.
having to wrap up. But I think this is a great start to the conversation. I think we're gonna, you know, there'll be
Yeah,
a
I hope
massive
everybody
expand.
got some great takeaways out of that. And, you know, yeah, we'll continue. We'll behind the scenes during team meetings and stuff. We'll start to, you know, collaborate on maybe the next year or so, some things we can sort of release and start to help people out. And I think it's gonna be exciting because you know, it's one of my goals is to, you know, see everybody prosper. So
Absolutely.
you know, this is one of those things that helps that along. So
Excellent stuff. Well, it's great
appreciate
to
you, Matt.
be
Good
on
seeing
a team
everybody
with
today.
people like yourselves. Thank you so much, Joel. If you allow the puppy to chill and show us out in style. Joseph, have a fantastic week. All the best.
You too, buddy. Have a good one.